Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Saturday, August 27th. So welcome to the new moon in Virgo day. If you have not listened to the new moon in Virgo astro forecast, I'm going to recommend you do so. If you have not downloaded your moon guide, I am going to recommend you do so. We have some pretty conflicting energies coming at us, weighing us down, making things very intense in our physical bodies, in our physical circumstances here today, mostly due to this new moon energy. So there are 9 different aspects taking place here today, and 9 of them involve the moon. Right out of the gate, we have Venus, who is in Leo, entering into the boxing ring with Uranus, who is now retrograde in Taurus energy. Interesting little dynamic, seeing as Venus rules over Taurus energy. This is definitely going to highlight our challenges, our obstacles, our struggles. There's a lot of them going on right now. A lot of them to do with our worth, our value, our relationships. There's this want, need, and desire for closeness, for intimacy in our friendships and our relationships. Yet this Uranian energy just wants people to stay away. We just want our independence. We just want our freedom. There's a lot of impulsiveness taking over with some of the other astrological aspects here today. But the impulsive attractions that we're having to anything other than our routine, ordinary lives could carry the potential to totally lead us astray and get us on the wrong path. There's a lot of instability with this energy. There's a lot of restlessness. There's a lot of rebellion coming up, especially in our personal relationships, because we don't know what to do with it. Again, the energy of a new moon, a dark moon, if you will, makes us sit in the funk in order to realize what it is that we're no longer willing to tolerate or experience. But a lot of clarity doesn't come with that. We're just focused on what it is that we don't want. We don't necessarily know what it is that we do want. And under a new moon, typically we have to look at the shadow, look at the not so nice parts of our thoughts, our emotions, our circumstances, in order for us to use that as a framework to build something better, to kind of set intentions that will dig us out of this hole. What I will say is that our discontentment for pretty much everything right now is on blast. We are annoyed within our own selves, by everybody else, by our environment, by our conversations, by our thoughts. Might even feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin because it just feels annoying to be in this state of mind, to be in this vibration, to be in this frequency. Now, this will pass in the next couple of days once the new moon kind of calms down. But this particular aspect between Venus and Uranus is kind of electric, and it is shooting an electric bolt, if you will, right into our heart chakra. Venus, of course, being in Leo energy. And this Uranian energy that is the lightning bolt is trying to open us up to where it is that we need change, that we need to think differently, that we need to kind of bust away from our comfort zone. But all of that just seems super overwhelming right now. And of course, the internalized struggle and battle has the potential to be projected in our external realm, especially where our personal relationships are concerned. Now, the moon goes ahead and makes a beautiful aspect with Pluto. The moon in Virgo and Pluto actually have a lot in common because both of them like to focus on the nitty-gritty details of our psyche, of our inner realm. The Virgo energy, of course, ruled over by Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, makes a lot of sense why we're stuck in our heads, why we're dissecting and analyzing our thoughts, our behaviors, our circumstances, our emotions in the way that we are. And Pluto is just along for the ride. He loves doing a deep dive in the psyche because it means that we get to the root of the problem. And just like Virgo energy, once we get to that root of the problem, we like to provide a solution. And that solution puts us in a situation to make a great transformation where we get to be put in a place of power and authority in our lives to take control over some of the aspects that aren't working so well. Plutonian energy, right? Wants us to boss up, wants us to stand in our power, wants us to be the authority in our own lives. But of course, the inner transformation between our heart and our head has to happen first before we're able to engage our physical body to actually make those kinds of moves. The sun in Virgo is going to square, get in the boxing ring, fight it out with Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, who is currently in Gemini energy. This is just going to trigger us in a big way. Why? Because we can't settle. We can't settle. Our minds are racing at a mile a minute. We feel like we have to engage the physical body in cleaning up our environment, sorting things out, taking action, making a move. We have this intense urge, this impulse to just jump into something new, start something new, to initiate something new. But here's the thing. We're in a new moon. This isn't a time for action. This is a time for rest. This isn't a time for aggression to make sure that we're moving forward. This is a time for us to relax and go with the flow and reflect. This is a time for us to sit with ourselves, recalibrate our heart and our head, while this particular energy is pushing us forward, even though we don't have a direction. And this is going to create just an absolute disaster in our energetic bodies, in our physical bodies, and in our circumstances if we don't have the discipline that we need in order to manage this kind of energy. This is putting us in a highly frustrated energy, a super irritated state of mind and being. We are highly reactive, meaning that we are super defensive. We are ready to jump into a confrontation, to rip people a new a-hole. We are just looking for a fight, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it. And we have to try really hard to avoid that at all costs. This is where the internalized conflict and battle is just going to be raging here throughout the day to day. Now, Mercury is going to go ahead and bump into the true node in not the nicest way. And Mercury right now, ruler of the mental plane, is in Libran energy, trying to keep things light and fluffy, trying to compromise, trying to find peace, trying to find balance. But again, like I've been saying, if you haven't listened to the astro forecast, go ahead and listen. Sometimes in this Libran energy, even though the goal is balance and peace and harmony and a happy-go-lucky middle point of compromise and cooperation, we only ever get there towards the end of the season after we've explored the extremes. And you best believe in today's energy, we are living in all kinds of extremes. Now, the true node is our soul's path. It's our destiny's point. It's trying to get us on the right path, strategically, logically, practically making the steps that are needed in order to get us on the right path. And this interaction between Mercury and the true node, we're not vibing, okay? We are not making any kind of headway. We are not making any kind of plans. If anything, we are confusing ourselves. We are more indecisive than ever about what the next position and place should be. Again, playing into the Libran energy of indecisiveness and playing on the fence, if you will. We are just out of sorts. And the intensity of the urgency and the impulses that are raging here today because of pretty much Mars and Jupiter are putting us in a position where we feel like we have to have everything figured out like yesterday. That comes down to the Virgo energy as well, wanting to, put things into order, wanting to plan, wanting to strategize, wanting to solve all of the problems, solve all of the issues, heal all of the wounds. There is this urgency that we are feeling under this new moon energy to fix it all and to fix it all now. But what we're experiencing in our mental plane is nothing short of pure and utter confusion, especially on the next step, especially on trying to hold the vision, the dream that we have, that we're looking to manifest, like strong in our minds. This is where doubts and insecurities, they just swoop in and they kill anything that we are absolutely sure of. To make matters even more complex, as if we needed it with this energy, we have the moon in Virgo squaring, entering into the boxing ring with Mars. Now, the sun just was in the boxing ring with Mars. I'm going to say the sun and the moon like tag teamed each other out, and the moon's now tagged in. And emotionally speaking, we are entering into the boxing ring with Mr. Ants in his pants himself, the god of war, who just wants to take action and make a move and, use his sword to cut through all of the challenges, all the obstacles to just move forward and aggressively pursuing what it is that he wants, needs, and desires. But here's the thing. He doesn't know what he wants anymore. He doesn't know what he desires. He's in Gemini energy. Suddenly we're contemplating everything over again. We're seeing everything from a different perspective. We're having to debate out the extremes of what we thought we knew, what we thought we wanted to pursue. Now we're questioning everything. And this is a time, again, this is taking place at 4:11, so just minutes before the moon actually hits its new moon peak energy. And this is going to trigger us in all the right ways, meaning that irritation, frustration, anger is the name of the game, especially when we're interacting with Mars. And a lot of that, if we're not careful, can be projected outwards in our external realm, in our personal relationships that will create drama, that will create a situation that will have to be cleaned up later. We want to prevent that, but I will be honest with you, you might not even like yourself under this energy. Again, wanting to crawl out of your skin, not even feeling a little bit comfortable in your own body. This is a difficult energy for us to sit in and for us to process and figure out how we're going to get out of. What I will say is that this is going to be very short-lived. So we don't want to act on impulse. We don't want to make any rash decisions, take any kind of action because of temporary emotions and thoughts. 4:17 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the moon conjunct the sun. This is what gives us our new moon in Virgo. This is the peak energy. Again, please listen to the astro forecast. Please download the moon guide. Please do the shadow work necessary that the moon guide assists you with. This is how we free up, how we liberate ourselves, how we heal ourselves, how we return to a state of wholeness. This is what the Virgo energy is all about. This is what our job is. This is where we have to be accountable and responsible to our own healing journey. Again, dive into the information that I've already put out there. It's going to paint a totally different picture for you. We have totally different aspects taking place under this one moment of peak moon energy. What I'm describing here today are all the astrological aspects taking place throughout the day. In the moon guide, we talk about the astrological aspects taking place at the snapshot of the moment when the moon conjuncts the sun. Totally different story, totally different energy, totally different life lessons. So we go for quite a few hours without any kind of interactions, and then the moon goes ahead and bumps into Jupiter in a way that would suggest that A, we have a learning opportunity here. We have a choice point, if you will, but B, that it's likely going to come from a trigger and an activation in our external realm that we don't have control over. Now, let me break it down in this way. Let me just say this to you. Jupiter magnifies whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling. And if you've been paying attention, you would tend to agree that we are not thinking very good thoughts. We're not thinking very positively under this influence. And we're not feeling so hot. We're not feeling so good. And so this is a pivotal point where we are going to have a test in our mental strength and dexterity, let's say, again, Virgo energy, mind over matter, ruler of the mental plane, Mercury being the ruler of this new moon energy. We have a choice point. We have a learning point. Something is going to pop off. Something's going to really tick us off, really put us in a triggered and activated state. Now, we have a choice. We have a decision. Are we going to allow our unconscious ego dictate how we're going to react to this particular situation? Or are we consciously going to act as the observer and choose to respond from our higher self? That is the choice. What I will say is that everything is going to feel like a bigger deal than it actually is. Everything is going to feel a little bit extra, a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more exaggerated than it actually is. Our anger, our irritation, our frustration is going to be amplified, even though there's really no reason for it other than the fact of the energies triggering this. And what we do at this particular point in the day is really going to set the tone for our mental plane and for our, I'm going to say, heart space as we enter into this new chapter that the new moon in Virgo is offering us. The moon goes ahead and bumps into Chiron in a very good way. This is suggesting that many of us are going to choose, and I say many of us because, collectively, we dictate how this is all going to manifest, how it's going to go down. The moon interacting with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this particular instance, does suggest that the choice point, the learning opportunity that we just had, that many of us chose the latter, which is to align with the higher self, to see the patterns, to see the behaviors, to see the interaction presented as a test, which is exactly what it is for us. And we choose to align with our higher self and respond from a conscious decision and viewpoint instead of an unconscious ego reaction. Why do I say this? Well, because this is a positive interaction between the moon and Chiron, which means that there is healing. When there is a positive interaction with Chiron, this suggests healing. When there's a negative interaction, it suggests wounds. The moon is our emotions. It's our intuition. It is our memories. It is the old sense of self interacting with the wounded healer in such a way that would suggest that we are making progress, that we are choosing growth and improvement, that we are choosing to heal, to be better. And that, especially following this choice point between the moon and Jupiter, is a huge indication that many of us have a lot more mental power than we give ourselves credit for. We're going to wrap up the day with the moon interacting with Pluto in a way that I'm not going to say is a bad aspect, not the greatest, but not a bad aspect. I'm going to say it's a point of deep inner reflection. Now, we had an earlier situation where the moon and Pluto were working together very well in order to do the deep dive in the psyche, in order to pop off the patterns and see where it is that we can change our understanding and change our perspective. That, of course, led to the inner transformation that we needed to have in order to prepare us for the physical transformation that we are really willing to take at this point. The moon interacting with Pluto in this way would suggest that we have to dabble a little bit in the negative narrative. We get a little bit obsessive with our thoughts. We do a little bit of a deep dive in the psyche, but we set up camp on the negative side of the track, so to speak. What I will say is that under the influence that we're currently at, we have to ride the wave. If the wave is pushing us into the cove of darkness, well, let's just lay back and float through the process. Let's see where the waves take us. Because the whole point of Virgo season, the whole point of Pluto energy is to push us into the darkness so that we can establish a new source of light. The whole point is to sit in our pain in order to see where it's actually our power. The whole point is to illuminate what we consider to be our weak and vulnerable parts of self so that we can flip the narrative and actually see that those are our strongest points, our greatest characteristics, our strongest qualities. So even though this particular interaction will likely drudge up a negative narrative and likely focus on the rougher side, the darker side, the more painful side of our thoughts, of our emotions, let's just accept it. Let's just say, you know what? We chose to get on this roller coaster to hell. We're going to enjoy the ride, knowing that at the end of the ride, we get to switch onto the roller coaster that takes us into heaven, so to speak. And we have to sit in the funk in order to realize where there's a problem. We have to realize the problem in order to come up with solutions. And this is exactly what the moon and Pluto are aiming for us to experience.